my name is Attorney Walter, if not the third. We're going to be doing in this video the top 5 disability claimants that most disability attorneys shy away from. I'm doing this video not to go ahead and just, point these individuals out, but I want you to understand specifically if an attorney doesn't want to take your claim, or you're sitting there wondering, hey, what the heck just happened? I thought they were going to take my claim. These are some of the types of claims that we shy away from. I'm not going to go a lot into detail of it. I'm making a smaller video here, but the bottom line is, this is probably one of the reasons why they may have pulled away from your claim. Here's the top 5. Number 1, low IQ claimants who are intelligent enough to remember things incorrectly. So the big problem with these types of claimants is we'll tell them one thing and then they'll go and tell their friends and their family something else. So they'll go ahead and spin it a certain way, and they might be good intentions throughout the entire process, but they're not able to internalize what was actually said, and then they'll come out with something totally different thereafter. A lot of these people, it's just a low IQ situation where they don't understand the first thing that they heard. The best way that I can try and have people understand, because I always want people to understand how people are disabled and how they're different from their situation, because a lot of people are like, well, why don't they just do this? Well, they're not you, But something to keep in mind, imagine if every sentence you heard, half of that sentence was in a different language, and you had to then figure out from there what was going on. That, for a lot of individuals with low IQs, is kind of what it feels like. It just feels like half of the information doesn't get into the brain the right way, and as a result of that, it makes it very tough for them to go ahead and use that information in a positive way. And then, of course, they spread that information, that's wrong information, to other people, and here we go. Okay, so number 2, dissociative disorders are claimants basically, I'll just read what I put here, where you'll tell them something, and they will think it's something else. These claimants ramble on and on, but never seem to get to what the point of the conversation was. Or they'll take whatever you told them, and they'll put it into some negative light of something that happened to them in their past. These are the individuals that I have probably the toughest time representing, because a lot of claimants I feed a lot of information to. I spend a lot of time per claimant, I spend a lot of money per claimant, and as a result of that, people that their brain is actively fighting the information you give them are some of the toughest ones for me to work with, because they don't take the information, internalize it, and go forward. They just kind of go ahead and get the information, and they just change it to whatever horrible PTSD related thing is in their past, and then they just go into this negative loop, and loop, a loop, a loop, a loop, a loop, and then all of a sudden they're at the end of this other loop, and they're angry because they think now you're the person that molested them 10 years ago, or they think that you're the person that murdered their great-grandfather. They associate usually the person they're talking with the negative thing that happened in their past. Those are tough claimants to work with, because the best thing you can do with them is get on the phone and get off the phone. The best thing you can do is actually give them less information, because the more information you give them, the more they're going to screw up their claim. So remember, not everybody's the same. You're not like everybody. They're not like you. 3, I lost my phone got stolen, my phone got wet, I lent my phone to my friend claimant. So we get a lot of homeless claimants who basically, whether they sell their phone for drugs, or they lose it, or somebody steals it for the purpose of buying drugs, whatever it is, when they have a difficult time holding on to their phone, it can be a really, really difficult thing to get a hold of them. Remember, with most homeless claimants, when you go to mail them things, the bottom line is that it'll just never end up in the correct place where it's supposed to go. So that's one of the tough things with homeless people, is if they lose their phone, you usually can't get mail items to them, because every 3 weeks they'll go get their mail, because they know there's nothing immediately important usually in it, unless it's like food stamps or a new phone. 4, the drug user who sells on the side. So they'll show up to the homeless help facility with a pretty junky BMW, but it's a BMW parked at a homeless facility. I love when he drives over to me and rolls down his window while I'm packing up my Prius and asks me for a claim update on how his claim is going. You just have to understand, there's a bitterness in guys like me who work in the system, get taxed heavily for working in the system, and then there's a guy there who will just roll up in their car, which is fancier than mine, and as a result of that be like, hey, what's the deal? What's the update? They don't wait in line to be seen. They don't get their paperwork done in a proper fashion. And sadly for these individuals, the ultimate result is that, I'll usually get a Facebook post or a text from somebody who was working with them just on general other stuff like housing or whatever, that they passed away. And the reason why is that usually they'll sell something with too much of something else in it, or they'll go ahead and anger their higher up distributor or whatever, and then there will be a retribution killing that occurs, and that's unfortunate as a result of that. But that's a person that attorneys are very aware of at this point when it comes to disability law. The next thing, number 5, the hyper intelligent drunk. They come up with plans to make the attorney okay, so I've only had a couple of these, and I want to make it very clear when it comes to these individuals that I've only had a couple of these. So the hyper-intelligent drunk, they basically come up with plans to make the attorney, or to blame the attorney for the reasons why they couldn't get stuff done. So I've had only about, 10 of these claimants throughout the years with my firm, I think 2 with another firm. There are hyper-intelligent people. People with IQs that are like 140, 150, 160, and they can do math better than you can. They can figure out things analytically faster than you and I can. And as a result of that, and I'm trying to be, and as a result of that, they might have a drinking problem. And people with large brains with the capacity to drink will usually find a way to get more alcohol in a creative way. And they do. And the problem with that is that they get drunk and then they get incapable of completing their forms or doing the thing we talked about, etc. And then all of a sudden they'll just, you okay, show? And then all of a sudden from there, we'll basically be in a position where that individual just won't get anything done. And then I'll meet up with them the next time. And they'll be like, oh, yeah, you told me you were going to blah, 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 blah. And, here comes the lies. Here comes the shenanigans. And I used to get offended when people would be like, oh, you told me this and you were going to do this. I don't get offended anymore from that stuff. Like when people tell me that I told them something and I didn't tell them something, when you deal with, individuals in the homeless field or in the very, very low income field, that's their survival. Sometimes you have to lie in that socioeconomic arena to be able to go ahead and survive to get something that you need. So I don't get offended by that anymore. But these individuals do exist, and attorneys are aware of them. So just remember, you've got the low IQ, dissociative disorder, the lost my phone, the drug user who's a seller on the side, and the hyper-intelligent drunk. Those are pretty much the top 5 claimants I tend to watch out for. It's not that I won't take them. I do take them, but I'm just, I safeguard myself a lot. You know what I mean? Like with those types of individuals, I might record a conversation and then just keep it in the file. That way it's there and I'll tell them, hey, I'm going to record this because I know who they are. I know how they are. And usually with some of these guys, like they'll know if you're recording the conversation, that the attorney knows their game that they're playing. And they'll clean up their act going forward. So there's little things that we do too to just try to get them act appropriately, if you will, with just getting through the program. So anyways, those are the top 5 disability claimants who disability attorneys tend to, or at least I do, shy away from representing because they can provide and be somewhat problematic. All right. Have an absolutely wonderful day. I'll catch you a little bit later. Remember to like, subscribe, and leave 5 stars when you can, and we'll go from there. Thanks so much. Bye-bye.